The sun is dying.
지구 종말을 앞둔 정말 시간이 얼마 남지 않은 순간에 우주선에서 혼수 상태로 깨어난 라일랜드 그레이스는 인류 최초로 외계인과 정말 특이한 방식으로 접선을 하게 돼요. 그리고 그 외계인에게 라키라는 이름을 붙여주죠.
And welcome to the 1% Book Club.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I love science, I love space, and it reminds us that we're capable of incredible things as human beings and that we've often made the impossible possible, and that's kind of our thing.
오늘은 정말 엄청난 뉴스를 가지고 왔습니다. 이번 달에 역대급 스케일의 우주과학 영화 프로젝트 헤일 메리가 개봉하는데요. 저희 1% 북클럽 채널에 이 영화의 주연인 라이언 고슬링 배우와 감독님들 그리고 시나리오 작가님을 모시고 인터뷰를 진행했습니다. 잠시 후에 이 인터뷰도 함께 해주시면 감사하겠습니다. 자, 그럼 일단 제목에서 나오는 거대한 프로젝트의 이름인 헤일 메리의 뜻부터 살펴볼게요. 헤일 메리는 미식 축구에서 정말 경기 막판에 마지막 역전을 노리고 던지는 롱 패스를 뜻하거든요. 가능성이 희박한 일종의 도박 같은 건데요. 이게 소설 속의 상황과 정확히 똑같아요.
The sun is dying.
지구 종말을 앞둔 정말 시간이 얼마 남지 않은 순간에 전 세계 수장들이 모여서 협력해서 성공 가능성이 매우 적은 이 프로젝트 헤일 메리를 추진하게 되죠. 특히 이 미식 축구의 롱패스처럼 너무너무 멀리 우주선을 보내야 해서 우주 비행사가 살아서 지구로 귀환할 가능성이 거의 제로에 가까운 그런 프로젝트를 추진하게 된 거예요. 그 프로젝트는 주인공인 라일랜드 그레이스가 이끌게 되는데요. 라일랜드 그레이스는 그냥 중학교 과학 교사거든요. 우주 비행사가 아닌 평범한 과학 교사가 어떻게 인류의 대표로 태양계를 넘어서 인류 역사상 가장 먼 우주로 가게 되었는지 그 이야기의 흐름이 참 흥미롭습니다. 우주선에서 혼수 상태로 깨어난 라일랜드 그레이스는 아마 인류 최초로 외계인과 정말 특이한 방식으로 접선을 하게 돼요. 그리고 그 외계인에게 라키라는 이름을 붙여주죠. 그 외계인과의 소통은 어떤 방식으로 했을지 궁금한 분들이 계실 거예요. 근데 영화 예고편에도 나오지만 라키의 언어는 돌고래처럼 초음파 비슷한 소리로 이루어져 있습니다. 라일랜드 그레이스는 컴퓨터 프로그래밍으로 그 소리들을 체계적으로 분석을 해서 인간의 언어로 번역을 하게 되죠. 이렇게 그들은 서로 소통을 하면서 기묘한 동거를 시작하게 돼요. 함께 고난을 헤쳐가면서요. 과연 둘 다 살아남을 수 있을지 아니면 둘 중 하나만 살아남게 될지 아니면 둘 다 본인들이 희생해서 인류를 구한 영웅으로 아름답게 기억이 될지 영화보다 먼저 결말과 내용을 알고 싶으신 분들은 바로 이 책을 읽어보시면 되겠습니다. 이 책을 먼저 다 읽고 나니까 영화에서는 이 책 속의 복잡한 과학들을 어떻게 시각적으로 구현을 해놨을까 더 궁금해졌는데요. 그래서 저도 먼저 이 책을 읽고 나서 영화를 보시기를 강력하게 추천드립니다. 개인적으로는 영화의 영상미가 너무 좋았고 가장 좋았던 부분은 책 속에서 묘사된 라키, 그리고 라키의 우주선의 모습이 화면에서 어떤 식으로 표현이 됐는지 그걸 생생하게 만나게 된 거였어요. 그리고 영화를 보러 가기 전에 인터뷰도 같이 한번 보고 가시면 좋을 것 같은데요. 저는 평소에 그 라이언 고슬링 특유의 어떤 우수에 찬 눈빛, 진지한 로맨스 연기, 그리고 때로는 굉장히 유쾌한 그런 연기들을 너무 좋아했었거든요. 그래서 프로젝트 헤일 메리란 영화에서는 그런 진지하고도 유쾌한 연기가 어떻게 녹아졌을지 궁금했었고 그러한 내용들을 또 라이언 고슬링과의 인터뷰에서 확인할 수 있었습니다.
Hi, I'm Haesung, and I work as TV host in Korea. And welcome to the 1% Book Club.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. Ryan, I've always loved your sense of humor, whether it's in Barbie, The Nice Guys, or even on SNL.
Thank you.
But in Project Hail Mary, the humor feels a bit different though. It feels more like a survival instinct. So was that a conscious choice for you?
Yeah, you're right. It is different. It's like you got to laugh to keep from crying, which I think that the directors of this movie do so well because they can make you laugh and then make you cry, make you laugh and cry until you're doing both at the same time.
Ryan, and you've had amazing chemistry with so many gorgeous actors like Emily Blunt, Emma Stone, Margot Robbie. But this time, your main partner was an alien without facial expression. So what was it actually like building chemistry with Rocky?
It was like a once in a lifetime opportunity and experience. It was challenging, He's kind of high maintenance. He has a lot of these puppeteers that work with him, and it's like it becomes all about him when you're working with him. But it's worth it, And of course, we had this puppeteer named James Ortiz who became Rocky's voice. And it was just, an incredible experience to form this bond with him. And now I miss him when he's not around.
Let's talk about your role a little bit. Ryland Grace is a middle school teacher, but also a brilliant scientist. And Andy Weir's book, The Science is No Joke. So did you actually study all the science for this role?
I studied a lot of science. I wouldn't say that I understood it. But I pretended to understand it, and I had a lot of people who did understand it around me. I love science. I love space.
You love space.
I do. Yeah, I struggle to understand it, but I love to work with people that do, and I love to work on projects that allow me to explore that.
This will be my last question. Korean audiences really love smart, complex movies like Interstellar and Inception. And Project Hail Mary is very smart too, but it's also warm and funny. So what feeling do you hope stays with them when people leave the theater?
I think there's a sense of hope that the film has in it, that Andy Weir's work has in it. It's not one of those bleak dystopian future films that leaves you with a sense of dread and anxiety. It teaches us, I think, or asks us to think of the future as not something to fear, but rather just to be figured out. And it reminds us that we're capable of incredible things as human beings and that we've often made the impossible possible, and that's kind of our thing.
Yeah, I love this movie because it's so optimistic.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye, Ryan.
이 영화의 원작인 책에 대해서 먼저 간단하게 소개를 해드릴게요. 제가 사랑하는 SF 작가인 앤디 위어의 프로젝트 헤일 메리라는 이 책입니다. 이 책은 데뷔작 마션으로 혜성같이 등장한 앤디 위어 작가의 세 번째 작품입니다. 특히 마션 같은 경우에는 리들리 스콧 감독이 영화화를 하고 또 맷 데이먼 배우가 주연을 맡아서 큰 사랑을 받은 작품이 됐었죠. 이렇게 전 세계에서 지금 주목받는 작가가 된 앤디 위어의 프로젝트 헤일 메리도 이번에 영화화가 되면서 다시 한번 공상과학 장르 애호가 분들의 관심을 끌어모으고 있습니다. 앤디 위어 작가는 경력이 일단 참 특별해요. 앤디 위어는 15살 때부터 미국 국립연구소에서 일하면서 천재로 불렸었거든요. 그리고 대학에서는 컴퓨터 공학을 전공하고 컴퓨터 프로그래머로 일하다가 블리자드라는 유명한 게임 회사에서 워크래프트2 개발에도 참여를 했습니다. 평소에 물리학과 천문학에 대한 지대한 관심을 가지고 있는 엄청난 과학 덕후로 알려져 있는데요. 그리고 작품들이 정말 말도 안 되게도 현존하는 물리 법칙을 단 하나도 깨뜨리지 않고 이야기를 밀어붙이는 걸로 독자들 사이에서 정평이 나 있습니다. 이 책에서도 제가 다 이렇게 이해하기는 어려웠던 여러 복잡한 과학 이론들이 뒤섞여 있습니다. 그런데 이 책의 진짜 매력은 그런 차갑고 냉철한 과학적인 계산이 아니라 그 어떤 휴먼 드라마보다 따뜻하고 또 인류애가 느껴진다는 점인데요. 정말 특이하고 특별한 존재인 외계인 럭키와의 관계가 이 소설의 플롯을 통째로 뒤흔들게 됩니다. 여러 공상과학 소설들 중에서 제가 이 책을 특히 좋아하는 이유는 앤디 위어 특유의 긍정적인 세계관, 낙천적인 미래관 때문이거든요. 저도 너무 디스토피아적인 미래관보다는 인류에 대한 믿음이 있는 사람인지라 이 책이 더 깊게 와닿았던 것 같아요. 그리고 프로젝트 헤일 메리에서 등장하는 새로운 생명체와의 특별한 관계, 이게 정말 이 책의 백미라고 할 수 있거든요. 제가 이 책을 읽고 시간이 꽤 흘렀는데도 그 이상하고도 감동적인 관계에 대한 여운이 짙게 남아있어요. 이 관계에 대해서는 스포하지 않는 선에서 뒤에서 조금 더 자세하게 설명을 드릴게요. 저는 이 두꺼운 책은 도대체 어떻게 쓰게 된 걸까? 아이디어를 어디에서 얻었을까 궁금했는데요. 앤디 위어는 연료에 관한, 퓨얼에 관한 뜬금없는 질문, 궁금증에서 이 소설을 구성하게 됐다고 해요. 태양계를 넘어서 아주 멀리 정말 상상할 수도 없이 먼 우주로 우주선을 보내려면 어떤 연료가 필요할까? 그 연료가 얼마만큼 필요할까? 그리고 그 연료가 만약에 살아있는 생명체라면? 이런 질문을 하게 된 거예요. 앤디 위어가 이 소설을 쓰게 된 질문을 듣고 나서 이 책을 읽게 되니까 거대한 서사가 확실히 이해가 되는 느낌이더라고요. 그리고 앤디 위어의 작품들이 영화화하기에, 영화로 구현하기에 절대 쉬운 작품들이 아니거든요. 아까 말씀드린 대로 현존하는 물리법칙을 한 개도 깨트리지 않고 이야기를 밀어붙이기 때문에 영화 감독님들 그리고 시나리오 작가님도 이 소설을 어떻게 영화로 잘 옮겨 놓을 수 있을까? 그 물리법칙들을 깨트리지 않으면서도 또 관객들이 너무 지루해하면 안 되기 때문에 그 적당한 밸런스를 맞추는 과정에서 고군분투를 많이 하신 것 같아요. 그래서 그런 과정들을 또 인터뷰에서 짧게나마 생생하게 들려주셔서 더 좋았던 것 같아요.
Good evening, Chris and Phil. Welcome to the 1% Book Club.
Hi, happy to be part of the club.
Yes.
Thank you. So you described this movie by saying this is not a Mac, it's a PC. And
Yes.
what did you mean by that?
Well, like a Mac is like slick and all of the architecture is inside and hidden. In a spaceship, if something goes wrong, you need to fix it. All of the architecture is on the outside. A spaceship is a lot closer to a prototype. And a movie is also a prototype. It is something where like things are constantly changing. And we wanted this movie to show you the mechanics of how it worked as it worked. We didn't want it to feel slick or antiseptic. We wanted it to feel human and crafted. The walls of the ship are quilted. The ship is stitched together from different space agencies around the world, right? Like Korea built one part of the ship, and India built a different part of the ship, and the US built a different part, and they're all kind of crammed together, and you should feel the differences in style and building materials as you move from room to room. We just didn't want anything to be too consistent.
So I guess this is the most complex movie you've ever made? And someone
Probably.
even compared it to making two Dunes.
Yes.
So, yeah, when did you realize, okay, this is on a completely different level?
Yeah, our cinematographer Greg Fraser and our VFX supervisor Paul Lambert were both on the Dune movies, and they said to us while in the middle of shooting, like, this was by far the most complex movie they've ever worked on. The scale of it is so huge. The complexity of like shooting so many scenes in zero gravity, having the ship have two orientations of gravity when it does have gravity.
The two main characters always have a wall of glass in between them, which makes everything
Yeah,
really
because
impossible
different
to light.
atmospheres.
Yeah, it's two different atmospheres, and one of them is operated by a team of 5 puppeteers that have to be out of the way so that they don't block the light.
Crazy.
So the difficulty from a technical standpoint and the ambition
Also, there
of it.
has to be a light array because anytime Ryan's not in wires pretending to be in zero gravity, the ship is spinning and you need to spin the light all the way around the
my.
ship.
So the light is
constantly.
constantly changing. So and we wanted the tunnel that they were in to be somewhat translucent, so that you could feel the spinning of the sun around it, so that it felt interesting and was always changing. And that required a light array that was so big that we needed to draw power from another soundstage just to make it happen. It
We
was
could have just made the tunnel dark
right,
and saved ourselves a lot of time.
but that's no.
But that's
fun.
no fun.
So there were so many circumstances that made this movie even harder, but you decided not to simplify it. So why was it so important for you guys to stick to this philosophy?
Well, the Andy's book is about solving big problems, right? And doing them
Definitely.
with teams of people. So if this movie made the problems easier, you wouldn't get this experience that I have going, I don't know how they did it. I can feel the hands of lots of smart human beings putting something together and pulling it off. And that's what we wanted the audience to leave the theater with, a feeling that big, hard things are possible.
I really respect all your efforts.
Thank you.
So this will be my last question. There was a scene and line that I really liked. So what was your favorite scene from this movie?
I mean, it's so hard to pick one. There's a scene between Ryan Gosling and Sandra Hüller that late in the movie that I find really emotionally compelling, and watching these two great actors have this great moment. But I think my favorite scene is really when Grace and Rocky meet for the first time, and Rocky is imitating Grace and trying to show him that he's not trying to hurt him. And the way that we were able to do it and shoot it with a real puppet team and Ryan, and like have him try different moves and do little dances and do little poses, and then have the puppet team try and make Rocky copy what he was doing. It made for like a movie magic, because it was really happening and you could really see on Ryan's face how he couldn't believe what this creature was doing. And it made everyone on the crew go like, wow, this is going to be a really special film.
That was so touching.
I love when Ken tells Ryan, you just need someone to be brave for. And my favorite thing is when I hear people in the audience go, oh.
That's a great answer. I think we're out of time, and this movie is going to be a huge success. I'll be rooting for you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you, Chris and
Thanks for
Phil.
your time.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the 1% Book Club channel.
I'm so happy to thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you. I'd love to talk a little about your background. You grew up in a family of rocket engineers, Drew. So do you think that influenced your screenwriting?
Yes, my great uncle was Robert Goddard, who's quote unquote called the father of modern rocketry.
Wow.
There's scientists and doctors in my lineage, and then my mom's a teacher and my dad's a doctor. And I think all of those things sort of go into the soup that makes me who I am. And I think it's why I'm so attracted to this movie, this novel, and Andy Weir's novels, because he is celebrating science and celebrating teaching in a way. And in some ways, he's just celebrating my parents from my point of view.
So that was your personal connection to space that you keep right about space.
Yeah, exactly.
Andy has a very dedicated fan base, but a movie has to work for people who have never read the book. So how did you balance staying true to a novel while making the story accessible for a wider range of audiences?
I don't say yes to adapting a book unless I love the book, because I trust that if I love something, then my job is to just explain what I love to other people. And that's a fun thing to do, right? I think everyone loves to share what they love, and people like hearing about what other people love. So when it comes from that place, it makes it easier, and just trusting that as a fan of the book myself, I'm going to protect the things that are very important to protect. That's why I wouldn't say yes to something that I didn't love it, because I wouldn't know how to protect the things that the fans connected to. So it starts from a place of just knowing that, well, if I love this book, other people will love it. And then to your point, to your question, the job is, how do I put this love on the screen, right? How do I take the thing that I love and make it so that it can be a movie and express this to millions of other people, right? And that's frankly the fun of it.
So you're expressing your passion for what you love.
Yes, that is what I do. That is absolutely what I do.
Let's talk about the main character. He isn't a perfect hero. He doubts himself, and in some ways, he feels like an imposter. So was that a conscious choice?
I think that's something that very much attracted to me to this novel. we've seen so many times the hero who is always brave in the face of danger. And we've come from an era where everything in cinemas was superheroes and people that are larger than life. I was attracted to the idea of writing about a more human protagonist, someone who gets afraid, is scared, has emotions. Like, he can be both brave and afraid. That's part of what makes us human. I was just so grateful that Ryan was willing to explore that too. Ryan Gosling, our exquisite lead actor, that he was willing to say, no, I want to make this feel human. I don't want to just be this perfect hero. And I think that's part of what makes this movie so special.
Very humane character.
Yeah.
So I think we are out of time, and this conversation really raised my expectations for this film. I'll be rooting for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a joy to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Goodbye for now.
Bye for now.
저는 이런 분들께 프로젝트 헤일 메리를 추천드릴게요. 우주 영화, SF 영화를 좋아하는 분들, 마션이 좋았던 분들, 그리고 라이언 고슬링이라는 배우의 연기를 좋아하는 분들, 따뜻한 인류애가 느껴지는 작품이 보고 싶으신 분들, 코미디를 좋아하는 분들, 또 사랑보다는 우정을 다룬 영화를 보고 싶으신 분들, 오랜만에 또 스케일이 큰 영화를 보러 영화관에 가고 싶으신 분들, 그런 분들께 프로젝트 헤일 메리를 추천드릴게요. 네, 오늘은 이렇게 프로젝트 헤일 메리라는 제가 사랑하는 원작을 토대로 한 영화를 한 편 소개해드렸습니다. 여러분들도 이 프로젝트 헤일 메리 책을 읽고 또는 영화를 관람하시고 나서 소감이 어떠셨는지 댓글에 많이 남겨두시면 제가 또 대댓글을 열심히 달아보도록 하겠습니다. 저는 더 유익한 책 이야기로 돌아올게요. 안녕.
단어 속에 잠긴 세계 끝없는 여행이 시작돼 나는 책을